keep me going in the woods looking after Mothman on the deepest, darkest night of the whatever. Wow. Happy birthday. It's like the Lunar Chronicles, but unhinged. Hold my beer. Hey, happy Halloween. I found the other day a book tag. That's a Halloween book tag, and I just had to have a piece of it because I love all things Halloween. I am going to get to my favorite, second favorite, up there favorite video of the year, which is my new fall reads, where I stack up all of the fall reads that I've not the fall reads, all of the reads that could fit fall from the last year, and I rank them or I tier rank them or whatever the case may be. That's coming soon because fall is not over yet. We still have almost 2 months of fall, but Halloween doesn't last forever. So here I am today. Got to give full credit to Jesse the Reader, who invented this tag, or at least that's where I saw it first. I saw him do it first. I'm pretty sure he invented it. And so, yeah, thanks for being here today. I'm Gabriella Battel, author of the Don't series, an acclaimed YA thriller duology for fans of, if you like Holly Jackson and E. Lockhart, We Were Liars kind of stuff. You'll like it. You'll like this book. And then also the upcoming fantasy thriller Ending, which is a whole new riot. I've been having so much fun. It's one of those things where if you like Six of Crows, if you like Leigh Bardugo, if you like Rebecca Ross and her more adventure novels, you're really going to like this. So yeah, what if Death himself was in a world that was so young that he was a teenager and his younger sister Life was even younger, and then she got poisoned, and then he is going to track whomever down because nobody messes with Death's little sister. Yes, Death is the main character. I'm doing all about Halloween. What do you expect? Death himself is a character, and he is a sweetheart. Anyway, I am also the founder of Bone Piercer Media, which is not only the imprint where I publish my own books, but it is my freelancing services where I help people publish their books. So if you need an editor, if you need someone to design the interior, if you need someone to narrate your audiobook, any type of media that is related to publishing your no spice, gritty, speculative fiction. So it can be post-apocalyptic, it can be sci-fi, it could be fantasy, dark fantasy, whatever. If that sounds like you and you are looking for someone to work with, hit me up. Got the link down below. I would love to work with you. All right, let's start with the tag. Okay, first one, a book with a pumpkin on the cover. No such book. I scoured all of my bookshelves. I scoured all of my previously read books, and I scoured all of my want to read books, and I cannot for the life of me find a pumpkin. It's just too cozy. I do the dismal death is a living human being and skeletons and body horror and botanical horror and thalassophobia. I don't know pumpkins. A book with an orange spine. I'm going to go with The Cocoa Cafe Chronicles by Legend Fiction. It's an anthology of 12 sip-sized stories of magic, mayhem, and cocoa from the authors of Legend Fiction. One of my stories is in here. It is The Bittersweet Dark, which is actually in the world of Ending, but it is a little cozy. No such pumpkin in it though, so not that cozy, and it's still Death himself as a teenager. But yes, I actually edited this. I was the one who was able to select a lot of the stories, and then I was honored enough to be able to include my own story in it. It is so much fun. There are some that are so witty. There are some that are so emotional. There's a whole gamut in here, and it's all about hot cocoa, and it's got an orange spine. Third, a book that has a witch. I'm going to give two different options that kind of take two different approaches to the word witch. The first one is Bittersweet in the Hollow by Kate Pearsall. I got this a few months ago and have started reading it, and it's so good. So this is about this girl named Lyndon James who lives in a small town in Appalachia, and her family are special because all of the women in her family have powers. It's been passed down from mother to daughter for generations. And they're treated a little bit with suspicion, but it's not exactly Salem witch trials. I mean, some people don't like them, but some people like them, and a lot of people need them because these ladies are also really good at healing. But last year, Lyndon went to a Mothman festival. She went in the woods with a bunch of people, and you keep going in the woods looking after Mothman on the deepest, darkest night of the whatever. Anyway, she goes out and she has a mortifyingly terrible experience. I don't think she remembers exactly what happened, just that something awful happened, but she can't remember the rest. And then when another dead girl turns up on the next Mothman festival day, there's an investigation going on. It is so immersive. I'm thinking about all of the food and flavors and scents and feels that are described. A lot of times when there are details, it's just kind of visual, but this is every single sense. You feel like you're right in there, and I'm very intrigued. It's also, and again, it's magical. So the reason this fits witches is because I think they're called witches. They give a witchy vibe, but they don't actually like, summon demons or something like that. So that's why I'm going to give this other option, which is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. This is the second book in the Throne of Glass trilogy, which follows Selena Sardothian, who is an assassin who has recently been released from a terrible, terrible prison camp. It's disgusting. People don't survive this prison camp. But she was recently released so that she could become the king's champion. And then I won't say what happens in the first book, but just in the second book, there is a witch, and she is much more witchy. She is dark magic, she is spells, and stealing people. I don't know if she actually steals people's souls, but she eats people. So that's pretty good. Third, a book that has a graveyard setting. Hang tight, honey. Don't End Done by me, Gabriella Battelle. Don't follows Peyton, who is a teenager with so severe lupus that it could be terminal. She's got one last procedure that may or may not work, and yeah, it's not looking good. And the pain keeps her up at night, and that is how she winds up seeing a crime by the same person who unalived her beloved stepfather. Like, this man raised her. This was not just a stepfather, this was her father. And same guy doing something sketchy again, involving her family, and she just can't sit on it. And here's the problem. Tony, the guy who killed her stepfather, he knows that she knows. So it is a game of cat and mouse about him trying to shut her up and her trying to protect her family for whatever it takes. And this is the sequel, which actually follows a side character after the events of Don't. It follows Mercedes, who is a Spitfire, and she has had a very rough time. She feels very alone in the world, but she's got a little sister who she's going to protect at all costs, even if that means teaming up with a young man named Luis, who is the reason she is all alone in the world, because she's not going to lose that little girl, and he regrets it. He regrets everything that he did. It's a little too late, but if he can save this little girl and give Mercedes a chance to protect her family, then he's going to do that. And both of those feature very, very prominent scenes in graveyards. The first one, a major introductory scene, takes place in a very foggy, cold, misty graveyard. And in the second one, it is the same graveyard, but it is a very different context. It is snowing, and there's some remorse going on there. I also want to bring up Vicious by V.E. Schwab. Vicious is about this guy named Victor Vale, who in college was best friends with a guy named Eli Ever. And as part of their college degree, specifically Eli, he wanted to, for his master's or his thesis or something, he wanted to investigate EOs, extraordinaries, which is people who seem to have extraordinary powers. And Eli comes up with this theory that, hey, it seems like if someone has a near-death experience and comes back, they come back with powers. They test it because that's what they were doing. I'm pretty sure they were drunk when they did it, but it works. They come up with powers, and that pits them against each other for the rest of their life. And let's just say, hey, this is the best dad, one of the best, possibly the best dad figures in all of the literature I have ever read. And also in the very first scene, he and his adoptive daughter-ish are digging up bones in a graveyard, and he's still the best. Okay, a book that was published in October. What do you want me to say? I wasn't gonna Google anything else. Both of these, technically this one's official launch was on November 1st, but I had to upload it to everywhere where it was available on the 31st of October, so Halloween. How many years is this baby? I guess it's 3 years, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years old now. Wow. Happy birthday. And then this one turned 1 year old on October 1st. I wasn't going to Google anything else. A book that takes place on Halloween. The first one I'm going to say is The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. This is a fun, cozy little mystery where 16 random people who are all connected to the same building, so they all live in the same building, but they don't really know each other. They get invited to this rich guy's home, and each of them are told that they will inherit the estate of this infinitely, massively rich guy. I mean, he is massively rich, but they have to be able to solve his riddle. They have to figure out what he's talking about. And it is just an entire quaint, fun, charming, witty, great characters little book about each of them. And it's not cutthroat. It's just a fun, challenging, sweet people, cozy mystery. And there is a part at the beginning where it is on Halloween, and there's a dare in this haunted mansion, and that's where we first meet the best character, Turtle. She's not a turtle, her nickname is Turtle. The second one I'm gonna say is Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. This is about Jet, who is just kind of stuck in life, but she's also kind of procrastinating. She's like, I got time, I'll do something great. And then one Halloween, she goes home and she gets attacked so brutally that she doesn't quite die, but it prepares an aneurysm in her brain. So she's gonna die within a week. And so she's like, all right, to make my mark on the world, I am going to solve my own murder. And I wept like a small child. That's all you're gonna get from me, small child. Oh, and this book boyfriend trumps a lot of book boyfriends in like romantic and stuff. I was in tears. That's all I'm gonna say. A book that tricked me with a plot twist. These two. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart, which again, if you like this, you'll probably like my book Don't. And then this, which is a very different type of story, and this is not a spoiler unless you've read one of them, but I'm gonna say it because it's one of those if you know, you know. I fell for the same plot twist twice. I fell for it twice, and I was so mad at myself, but so just driven to screaming and tears by these books. So We Were Liars, for those of you who don't know, this follows Katie, who is the daughter of filthy rich heiress, who is the daughter of a filthy rich man. They literally own their own island off of the East Coast. It's a little private island where they go every summer, she and the cousin's vaguely connected best friend kind of a thing. It's her cousin's stepfather's nephew. There we go. Her cousin's stepfather's nephew. Anyway, all these guys are the closest of friends, and they start navigating what it's like to grow up, to try and find yourself outside of just your filthy rich family. And there's a love story along the way, but most importantly, something happened last summer that Katie can't remember. She's got amnesia because she knows she hit her head, but she can't figure out what exactly happened, what split their little group apart, and why no one will tell her. And so she needs to find out from here. And Don't Let the Forest In follows Andrew, who also knows that something happened last year, but he's not exactly sure what. People just keep mentioning it, asking if he's okay, and he's not okay. He's just in general not very okay. And his best friend, Thomas, he starts acting really, really strange. Strange things start happening around Thomas. And Andrew needs to find out what's up. And so the boys go investigate, and what they find out is that something is stalking Thomas. Not someone, something. Something very plant-ish, something very feral, something very wild, and it's up to these boys to stop it before it kills them, because it is chasing them hard. It is very much a horror romance. I didn't love the romance in it, but the fantasy, the horror, the plant horror, the woods, and just this journey that Thomas goes on, his emotional journey, it's very touching, and so I highly recommend this one as well. A story set in a haunted house. None other than Hilltop House by S.Q. McGrath. I stick by it. This is one of my favorite horror books ever. It is so precisely done. So it's not elaborate necessarily. It's not terribly out of the box. It is very much a classic haunted house story. You've seen the kind of themes, you've seen the elements of a haunted house, but it is done so crisply, so precisely, so well-intentionedly. Not well-intentionedly. She intended every single word that she did, and she meant it, and she did it well. I love the way that the different plots weave together, and the aura, the atmosphere, the way that you felt this book. It follows Cora, who she and her mom have always been on the run, and now they've been on the run to this house that thinks and that has fetishes and that is quite obsessed with Cora. And so now they have to navigate this creepy house and this reason that they are on the run and bond closer as a mother and a daughter, and Cora finds herself as a young woman. It is an excellent story, and I cannot recommend it enough. A book that has monster in it. The only one I've ever read, stunningly, is called Of Monsters and Mainframes by Barbara Lovejoy. This is a play on Dracula, except it's set way in the future in space. And it is a romp. The main character is the ship, the Demeter, but because it's a spaceship, it's an AI, and so she thinks, and then she's got a friend that's like a sub computer system inside her hull. And it's not just Dracula. There's vampires, there's werewolves, there's a take on a mummy, there's like Cthulhu-esque cult. It's a riot. It's chaotic. The best way I can describe I described it three ways. The first way is kind of like niche, but if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like the Magnus Archives meets Stellar Firma. Then the second one I would say is if you've seen Van Helsing. It's like Van Helsing, but set in space. And then the last one is it's like the Lunar Chronicles, but unhinged. That's the best I got for you. A book character that I would dress up as. We're gonna go plain and simple. We are gonna go with Kaz Brecker from Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. She needs no introduction. I am not gonna explain what Six of Crows about. Yes, I am. It's a heist. Kaz Brecker is a gang leader. He is a thief, and he is gonna pull off the biggest heist known to Grisha history. I forget what the world is called. There's a bunch of different countries. He's gonna pull off the biggest heist. He is gonna make it rich. He is gonna make his highly talented friends rich, and maybe he's gonna stop being such a hardened man along the way. And he has a really bad haircut, but he wears sweet suits. And I'm not typically one for like dressing up in like really fantasy stuff, but I will wear a suit and some gloves and carry a cane with a crow head on it. A book that features a costume party, and the only one I could think of is one from years ago, like over a decade ago, which is Meet Cecile by Denise Lewis Patrick. It's an American girl book, and it follows Cecile, who is a free young woman a girl, she's a child, but her family are free people of color in New Orleans in the 1800s, and she's really, really rich too. And it's all about going to a masquerade ball, a costume ball for, I think this one was for Mardi Gras, not Halloween. But it's discussing about how she has to go to the colored people's ball, how even though she was a free person of color and she was rich, she was still segregated. And so she and her friend Marie Grace, they secretly swap, and then they go in each other's costumes to each other's ball, and they're like, hey, it's the same. It's a little thin book. I used to love I still love the American Girls. And that's the only one I could think of. Book that features a vampire, I have to go with The Buffalo Hunter by Stephen Graham Jones. It just came out this year, and it is a phenomenal look. First of all, it's about a Native American vampire. So that alone would have been enough. I'd have been like, sign me up. But then on top of that, it doesn't stop there. It is this immensely intimate look at history, at the horrors that have happened to indigenous peoples by white settlers, and the Native American experience, and even more intimately, a look at this specific man. Like this guy, it's such an intimate story. It follows Goodstab, who is the Native American vampire, and he is describing his experiences from becoming a vampire all the way up through now to this Lutheran priest. Turns out they may have a connection. Turns out there might be a revenge, something going on. It is so good. It's beautifully written. And the audiobook, I kid you guys not, the audiobook narrators sound like the Colonel, and less so, but close enough, Little Creek from Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron. So I was listening to them narrate this story about like drinking blood and snapping bones and stuff. A fictional world that I would like to fly a broomstick over. I'm going to take this to mean that I would just like to tour it. Like I wouldn't want to live there, but I could just tour it. And I'm going to give you three quick options. First will be Uglies by Scott Westerfield. This follows Tally Youngblood, who lives in a futuristic dystopian world where people are born normal, but then at a certain age, they're given a surgery to make them pretty, and that's pretty with a capital P, and it just kind of makes them homogenous. They all look the same, but with very stereotypical beauty standards. And then the pretties go and live in this other town and separated from the people just born natural. And those people are called uglies. Now, Tally wants to get over to Pretty Town, and I can't remember exactly what happens, but oh, yeah, I do remember. Long story short, Tally is blackmailed, saying, hey, you need to go investigate this possible rebel group out in the woods. They're called Smokies, and they don't follow our uglies to pretties way of life, and we don't like people who don't follow the norm. So you're going to go investigate them, or we're not going to give you the surgery. It's such a good book. I should hate this. I should hate this because it is so kind of not so much happens. It's very kind of classic, nothing shock and awe, but it's just it feels innocent. There's something unique about how kind of naive it feels, but intentionally. Like it is intentionally, these people are naive and they're learning to grow. There is, I don't know, there's a childlikeness about it and a little bit of wonder and just some fun old sci fi. And so I liked it. Also, if you wind up reading the second and third books, best love triangle known to man. I have not yet met a love triangle I love that much. I thought I was gonna get one in Throne of Glass, and it was starting out hot. Throne of Glass book one, starting out hot. That's a rant for another time, but it did not do what I wanted it to do. So anyway, I hear that I should try the Clockwork Angel. Maybe I'll get there, and that's another love triangle. But yeah, best love triangle. The second option would be How the King of Elfheim Learned to Hate Stories by Holly Black. This is a short novella in the world of The Cruel Prince, which, long story short, follows Jude Duarte, who is a human living in the modern times, but she, as a baby, was adopted into fairy, and she's just trying to connive her way through the fairy court. Now, this one I love much more because it's from Carden's point of view, and he took a minute, but this man got my heart, and we got to see his backstory here, and I really enjoyed that. And as much as I would not want to be in the fairy courts, I do think it would be so nice just to kind of like go there for a day. You know, just knowing I'm safe-ish, just go for a day, observe, not really interact with people, just see what's going on in the fairy realm. And last, I'm going to say Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. Now, this isn't obviously compendium, but this is the only book I have. And I'm going to say this right off the bat, I liked compendium. I didn't think it was, sorry, maybe I should start by telling you what the series is about. This followed Emily Wilde, who is a dryadologist, and a dryadologist is a fairy scientist, and she goes in the field researching fairies. Now, so to be determined relatively does her colleague, Wendell Bamblebee, who seems to have a very, very fierce connection with the fairy world, but he doesn't really like to work. He just likes Emily, and he's a love. And so it's just their adventures for 2 books. Now, this is the second book. The third book came out. I gave the first 2 books 5 stars unequivocally. The third book, I gave like 3 and change kind of. It wasn't bad, it just wasn't quite these ones. But there is another version of Fairyland that I would really like to just kind of skim through, especially with the certain guide that Emily has. Apparently, I just want to go to Fairyland. Just let me go to Fairyland. A book cover that features a skeleton. Look at the trail of bones. Okay, a book title that would make a great grave sign engraving. Hold my beer. I have so many that I am going to rapid fire this. We're going to start with Insurgent by Veronica Roth. This is the second book of Divergent, which I'm sure a lot of you have heard about. It follows Triss, who lives in a dystopian world where you have to get selected to be put into one of 5 factions, but she belongs to more than one, which makes her dangerous. This is the second book. And can you imagine if my gravestone said Insurgent? It probably will anyway, for just some inexplicable reason. Second up, we got Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drew. Can you imagine that on my gravestone? I'm like, warning, don't do it. I tried. Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. And this, the way I describe it quickly, is a lot like Miss Scarlet and the Duke, but for those of you who haven't seen Miss Scarlet and the Duke, this follows, what's her name? Audrey Rose, that's her name. Audrey Rose likes to be in a corner in a world, Victorian, Edwardian, somewhere around there, where she's just expected to wear dresses and make tea, but she likes cutting open bodies. And I'd be okay if my gravestone said that I died stalking Jack the Ripper. The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is a Throne of Glass prequel, and it follows Selena before she got thrown into the prison camp, and we get to see Sam. I'm about to read it, so yeah, that would be a fun thing to have on my gravestone. At least I would know I was worth an assassin. This is quite possibly my favorite, Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson. This is the second book in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. In the first book, Pip, what's her name? Pip Fitzamobi opened up a cold case that just never set right with her because the accused was a young man that she knew. He was like an older brother to her, and she could not believe in her heart of hearts that he was a murderer. She solved that, and now she's solving a disappearance in this one, and this would raise questions. This is a nice one, Gallant by V.E. Schwab. This follows Olivia, who has been raised in, it's a girls' orphanage. I almost called it a convent, but it's a girls' orphanage run by nuns. And she's mute and she's never felt like she belongs. And all she has is this notebook from her mother, who seemed to be going insane right before she passed away. But then she realizes that she's actually a co-heiress to an inheritance, where she goes and she finds a very sparse but very tight-knit family and realizes that there is madness and darkness going on. And they are pretty much the only thing standing between the world and the darkness. It's Matthew for the world. Matthew for the... And like, this never hurt to be on a gravestone. Okay, almost done. Second to last one is a book that features a werewolf. I'm gonna say Inside the Wolf by Gabriella Vattel. It's a novelette that I wrote and is now published online. You can get it at BookFunnel, actually. I will put a link down below to the BookFunnel. It is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and it follows Garnet, who is the peace offering between Scaddis Lake Forest and Scaddis Lake Fair. Scaddis Lake Fair are the people who can turn into animals, and Scaddis Lake Forest are the animals who can turn into people. They used to be at war, but now they have a peace offering. That peace offering being that one child from each of the forest and the fair, they will share one heartbeat. So for them to live, they have to trade being inside each other's heart every day. Fine and dandy. The problem is that there's been a massive, massive drought in their land, and all of their people are dying, and the only person who can bring clean rain is grandmother, a half-witch who is in the forest, and she won't send the rain, and nobody knows what's happening until she sends a desperate cry for help. And now Garnet and Ryder, who is the wolf from the forest, they have to go help grandmother. So to A, just help grandmother, but then B, bring the rain and save their village. I read that again for the first time about a few days ago, and I had such a fun time writing it, and I had such a fun time reading it. If you know Alyssa Weiss, she wrote Nocturne. I'm also reading two others, which are The Waking Forest and We Shall Be Monsters, We Will Be Monsters. If you know these books, and also if you've read anything by Adam Krauss, specifically Before the Devil Knows You're Here, which is a Johnny Appleseed, Paul Bunyan retelling through the lens of a biracial, white, Latina young woman in the 1800s as she goes through messed up America, messed up specifically in a dark folktale kind of way, to get her little brother back. If you've read any of those, you will love Inside the Wolf, because it's got that same feel. And last question, a book that has a black cat on it, I am going to say The Forbidden Library by Django Wexler. I read this so many years ago, and it still holds up for me. I still love this book. This follows Alice, who is a very astute, very precocious young little girl, and her dad then one day disappears, allegedly having drowned, but not before Alice saw him talking to a fairy. And so then she gets whisked away to this mysterious estate where there's a mysterious library and so many weird creatures, and definitely more of a conspiracy going on, and lots of black cats. Now this one right here, his name is Ashes. But very interesting. If you go to the back, there's a picture of a much larger, much more terrifying black cat, and guess what its name is? Ending. And that is where the inspiration for the name of my new book came from. So I am going to leave you with that. I hope you had some good recommendations today. I hope you find something you enjoy, or I hope you just enjoyed kind of chatting with me, because I enjoyed it. This was fun. So thank you guys so much for being here. You have a great day, and God bless. Bye-bye.